Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Let us start our specialized session. I would request you to take your seats and let us start. Dear colleagues, currently our case study coincides with another session on the roadmap and strategic initiatives for social services. I think that social entrepreneurship plays an important role here. Business in this area competes with state-owned enterprises. That's why there are two main directions here. The first one is core sources of funding and involving national and regional budgets. And the second direction is providing support to social businesses that should adequately respond to the needs of the government. And this may be done through vouchers, subsidies, and other tools. I'm pleased to acknowledge that we already have a positive experience and practices of international business, Russian business. We've had several programs of support to SMEs, and the fund Наше будущее, which is translated as our future, plays quite an important role here. They try to borrow the best practices and to disseminate later on the best practices of social entrepreneurship in Russia. And let me introduce to you Irina Pavlova, who will act as the moderator at our session. Thank you for your introduction. Social entrepreneurship in Russia currently is very important, and it's acknowledged by the majority of the population. I'm glad that this is a separate subject at this Congress in Moscow. Let us discuss today whether social entrepreneurship can provide adequate services to the population. Let's discuss the perception. So how is it perceived globally? What are the forms? What are the practices? What are the ways of social support in other countries? What are the practices of social entrepreneurship that target urgent social problems? Let's discuss it all now. One of the aspects will be the participation of big businesses in this area. I would like to give the floor first to Artyom Shadrin, Director of the Department of Innovative Development. He represents Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation, and he will act as a co-moderator. Also, another speaker will be DeBerg. He represents the Students for the Advancement of Global Entrepreneurship. He is one of the founders of this fund, and he's a professor. He's from California. Another participant will be Igor Bobylev from Uralsib. He's head of the Department for External Communications. Maxim Popov is another participant, Chief Executive Officer of Kanguru.pro. Another participant is Roman Bobylev. He represents Lozaholding, and he's a founder of this holding. There will also be several experts participating. Yulia Molchanova, who represents the HSC Business Incubator, she's an acting director. Olga Ryabova, an independent expert, and Igor Yakovlev, who represents Moscow Small Business Society, which is the Center for Social Innovations of Moscow. He's the head of this organization. So, what is social entrepreneurship? I would request Mr. Yakovlev to define it briefly. This is an innovative form to resolve social problems via business tools. Or, Olga, please. Can you express it in one phrase? And Curtis, please. Sage. Yeah.
Targets teenagers, and much like a sporting event, teenagers compete based on their creativity and innovation in their home country. And at the end of the year, they participate in a world event. This year's world event will be in Moscow in August.
Thank you. Максим, для вас.
Здравствуйте. Это такой вид деятельности, который направлен.
Maxim. This is an activity aiming to improve the life of citizens. Vyacheslav, please. Let me comment. Well, I would define it like that. Do good things and earn money. Artyom, I think it's a business with a strong positive social effect. And possibly the social effect prevails over the profit and business effects. Raise your hands, please. Those that have heard of this concept or practice it. Wonderful, thank you. Are there any volunteers to give their own definition? Olga, you're welcome. This is a stable business aiming to resolve or mitigate social problems. Microphone, please. Please use the microphone. Microphone, please. Oh.
Doing good. That means doing good things for society and doing well to also make money at the same time.
Thank you. Еще? Татьяна.
Microphone, please. Business, NCOs and NGOs offering innovative solutions to social problems that may lead to changes through applying the business potential. Thank you for your definitions. As you can see, the concept of social entrepreneurship involves both business and positive social effects. These are the components that are always a part of the definition. I work for the foundation called Our Future, Наше будущее, and this is a part of a chain. It was set up by another social entrepreneur. So I think we're trying to anticipate future forms of work that will refer to the concept of social entrepreneurship. We rely on the following definition. Social entrepreneurship is innovative activity aiming to resolve social problems. Normally, it refers to the non-commercial sector, and considering that there are many options and state programs introduced some time ago, the initiative of one person as a soul is also developed. So sole entrepreneurs, sole proprietors may also be involved in this work, as well as limited companies. This indicates that there are no real restrictions to social entrepreneurship. Its mission should be a positive social effect, and also it must comply with the legislation, and in this case, one person or a small group of people can change the world and help the vulnerable layers of society. Someone has mentioned that there are some global practices, and there are some practices already, and there are some regulatory forms of this work. Tomorrow it will be discussed by the Council of the Federation of Russia. Probably some particular format of this work should be endorsed, and it will involve amendments to other legal and regulatory acts. Or possibly this is going to be a separate law.
I know that there is an initiative on creating CISs. This is a center of innovations in the Russian Federation, and as a result of your efforts, this is now the part of the order of the Ministry of Economic Development. What did you expect from this practice, and did you manage to achieve your goals? The Agency of Strategic Initiatives helped us a lot in forming these mechanisms. This is an instrument for regional development, for subjects of federation, and this is information and infrastructural support for entrepreneurs. This is a specialized business incubator for developing social technologies and making them profitable. This is an organization which provides benchmarks and which finds best practices and also helps through franchising terms to ensure the rollout on a mass scale. To maximize cooperation between specialized institutions such as CIS with resource centers which support activity of NGOs. At some levels, NGOs and social entrepreneur businesses are different in social and organizational legal forms, but technologies of solving social issues are common for them. And synergy is significant. That's why we need to promote cooperations. So this is like regional growth rates for social entrepreneurships. They are centers of development. They are institutions which help to develop social entrepreneurs. Which spheres concern social entrepreneurship? They are traditionally social aspects such as healthcare, different forms of education, improving living standards of vulnerable citizens. Next, development of rural areas, all the problems related to outflow of population from rural areas, ecology, employment, living standards of the youth, sport, healthy living standards, heritage and historical heritage of Russia. These all topics concern everyone, and I would say that principles of social businesses are the following: focus on the social mission and focus on solving a certain problem through using entrepreneurship approach. Social businesses understand that their main goal is to change the living standard of the people. There are no limits for our efforts, and now I'd like to give the floor to Curtis DeBerg. And schools projects, youth projects organized by Curtis. Actually, we were working with you together in the Tula region, so I know how this works. This is a global project. There is a Russian delegation, Russian federal competition of your associations. Could you please share your experience? Tell us, how are you starting to form this approach starting from the school?
First of all, I misunderstood the very first question on defining social enterprise. So social enterprise, the key word for me is enterprise. And rather than making a profit, the primary goal is to solve a social problem. So I apologize for misunderstanding your first question. As far as my program, SAGE, we have two categories for youth. And when we define youth, we talk about teenagers, as young as 13 or as old as 19 years old. And the key is we want these youth to be innovative. They need to create something new, or they need to deliver a new service or an existing product in a new way. So entrepreneurship, we encourage teenagers to use their creativity and innovation in school. They learn math, they learn computer science, they learn English, they learn all of these topics, but entrepreneurship allows these students to reach across disciplines to use something that they are innately interested in. If a team of young students, teenagers, create a good or service during the academic year, they get to compete, just like in the Olympics. They can compete in one of two categories. One of the categories is a social enterprise business. We call that an SEB. On the other hand, they can be an entrepreneur whose main goal is to make money, but they need to do so in a socially responsible manner. And we call this an SRB, a socially responsible business. And so there are two categories by which teens can compete based on their innovation and creativity. One can be maximizing profit as their main goal, but they have to do so in a socially responsible manner, or they have to create a social enterprise. Now, as an example, one of our winning teams a few years ago was from the Philippines, and they took recycled tarpaulin, tarp, which was used for political campaigns, and they, instead of going to the landfill and being disposed of, they created designer handbags and purses that were actually very, very nicely done, and they were sold in high-end boutiques. So an example of a young creative team was to take something that was headed for the landfill and to recycle it, and they employed previously unemployed women and artisans to not only sew the bags, but also to put art on it. So that's an example of how creative and innovative one team was from the Philippines. Now, I can give you more examples later if you'd like, but in my closing remarks here, this summer in August, we now have about 20 countries in the world that are competing, not on how high they can jump or how fast they can swim, but it's how creative and innovative are their teenagers. And if they win their national competition, they get to represent their country just like in any other interscholastic sporting environment like the Olympics or FIFA soccer. Did I answer your question, Maxime?
Некоторым образом, да, спасибо большое.
To some extent, yes. Thank you very much. The definition and the task for schoolers who compete in social entrepreneurship. So how do they continue their work? Do you have information on their future of these projects? So those people who win, do they continue doing this, or that's just a background for them, that's just in their heart?
Really good question. Almost all of our teens that have participated in SAGE have gone on to university, and they've gone on to good universities. Some of them have maintained the businesses that they started as teenagers. The majority of them, however, we want them to think like entrepreneurs, and we want them eventually to think about creating jobs, not just taking a job. Now, one of the first countries in Africa that started was a team from Nigeria. And when I went to visit them the second year, there was a young girl in the back of the room who, at the end of the question and answers, stood up and said, "I don't have a question, I have a comment." She said, "Before SAGE last year, I wanted to become a medical doctor. Now that I've been in SAGE for 1 year, my worldview has changed." She said, "Now I want to build hospitals." Think about that. Her worldview was to become a doctor, which would make any parent proud. But now, we've changed her worldview, not only because she was able to see other teenagers from other countries participate, but she now thinks she can do much greater things for her community other than just being a doctor, maximizing personal wealth while doing good. She now wants to really do good in the community, and with that, the wealth will follow.
То есть более системный подход получаем.
So it's like she has more systemic approach.
Fortunately, I haven't. Tracking teenagers through school system, we oftentimes lose track of them when they get to the university because the teachers don't provide us with that information. But in terms of a systemic approach, many SAGE students now, when they reach university, are joining what we call the SAGE Club at the university. Now, many of the university students are majoring in entrepreneurship now. We have such majors. Now, as part of their service learning activities, the university students are matched with teenagers, and the university students become consultants and mentors to their younger proteges. So we are building what we would call a system, if you will, where the teens are being mentored by older students, and together the older students and the teenagers compete. But the judges are not the teachers. The judges are business leaders and entrepreneurs from the community.
Спасибо большое. Мы еще вернемся.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to you at a later stage and we'll ask you questions on some other topics. But now I'd like to ask the president of the university, Хайма Юнимал Джалиль. Я хотел бы рассказать о том, что такое для меня социальное предпринимательство. Есть большое количество вопросов, которые взаимосвязаны. Хотела бы также больше сказать о том, как мы получаем социальных предпренеров. Их можно обучить или они уже рождаются такими? Бывают и такие случаи, я сказала бы. Но приведу один прекрасный пример из Саудовской Аравии. 2 или 3 года назад мы столкнулись с большим наводнением, мы не были к нему готовы. И мы увидели рождение большого количества предпринимателей. Им было от 19 до 24 лет. И они занимались спасением.
And that's really by itself, it's really solved the problem immediately. Of course, there are other examples, but I just wanted to shed light on this. But the contribution of the whole country is really rested on two major areas, which is handled by the big giant company in Saudi Arabia, which is really oil company, is Aramco. And they are doing what we call it WAD, and it's to help entrepreneurs really to become more integrated into society and to help them really support them with their work. But Aramco and CACS, which is really King Abdulaziz University of Science and Technology, they are really business-oriented with the government kind of a contribution. But these are part of their corporate social responsibility. So it's not really, this is not their daily kind of work, but they are doing it part of corporate social responsibility to help the youth really get into their businesses and they create jobs. So this is part of their contribution to the whole Saudi Arabia in order really to create job for the youth. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you. Igor Bobylev is the next speaker. I would like to ask him tell us about the support of social entrepreneurship by large companies. Igor is the chairman of the Commission of the Association of Managers of Russia. So could you please share your experience? Large businesses and you are also social, you know both large companies, you know social entrepreneurs. What do you think? What are the prospects of such cooperation? Is there huge potential for this? Irina, thank you for giving me the floor. We now see that large companies, similarly to what's happening in other countries, now more and more focuses not only on social responsibility, but also on specific steps to support social businesses. Large companies are doing this not only because they are interested in doing charity work, but also this is a part of their social mission. So, for example, Uralsib Bank, financial corporation Uralsib, has started helping medium and small businesses of Russia long ago, and these companies are social responsible enterprises. But this is a value which is shared by managers, by main shareholder Nikolai Tsvetkov and his family. And this value is support of social entrepreneurship. Many social problems we currently have, which can be tackled through NGOs, could be solved more efficiently if we apply entrepreneurship tools. One of the directions for large businesses is contribution to local communities through charity projects, through NGOs, and a more stable format which can become profitable in the future is the creation of infrastructure for local communities, infrastructure that supports business initiatives focused on improving living standards in Russia. And there are such projects as projects by Severstal company, for example, in Cherepovets, through the agency of the city development and the partnership with the fund Our Future, is identifying social initiatives of different businessmen and supports them with advice and with some instruments available. There are also interesting projects by Rusal company. On the one hand, this company supports social innovation centers, and also on the Krasnoyarsk Economic Forum, they presented the new universal project of support for businesses, which is done together with a partnership of the local entrepreneurship fund, which targets the school of social entrepreneurs, advisory services, training for them, developing investment plans and business plans. And this program also keeps supporting them using tools available to large businesses and through state programs. Another example, Metal Invest also has the School of Social Entrepreneurship in the cities where it operates, and selects the best projects which deserve business and state support. I can give you examples of a partnership program by Uralsib, of the Social Entrepreneurship Fund Future of Russia and Our Future. The goal of this project is to select and support interesting, sustainable business models which could potentially be rolled out and which could be recommended to other businessmen in other regions, in different industries. This program formulated several specific formats needed for social entrepreneurs.
Primarily, it's an interesting grant program put forward by Наше Будущее Foundation. It will run for 12 months, and it will fund social businessmen. It will fund, in particular, their training and consulting from consultants. One of the participants of this program is Rostelecom company. It will send the selected entrepreneurs to start to study at one of the global business schools. This will be a system of distant learning. The Uralsib Bank has developed a new product which will support social entrepreneurs. It's called Благородное дело, which is translated as the noble cause. And it will help businessmen to get a loan on with a fantastic interest rate, which is 7.78%. This is certainly the interest rate far below standard market rates. And possibly it could even be lowered down to 2 or 3% if another bank supports this program. So we have several grant projects, and we want social entrepreneurs to target loans, which may be reverse loans and interest rate loans, which means that their projects are stable and this business model may be replicated. That's our story in brief. But what are social entrepreneurs for big businesses? I think it's the representatives of local communities where business develops, which allow big businesses to work in a stable manner and to constantly resolve the social problems of society. Big business wants stability, and they want to preserve it in the regions where it operates. Well, do you think that in this context, social entrepreneurship is a new format of cooperation between big and small business? Probably, is this a general name for local businessmen? I would call it differently. I think it's rather a support to social entrepreneurs. This is a form of support to big business, and a form of support provided by big business to the civil society and local communities. Let me give the floor to Maxim Popov. He will brief you on his project, and please give your definition of the concept too. Well, that's quite one of our subjects. I'm the CEO of Kangaroo Pro company, and I'm a president of Workout of Moscow region. It means that street workout is something like affordable and accessible sports for young people, where you just train your body in parks and at other next door sites. We try to advertise this workout sport not only through this sports sites, but also we invite young people, organize competitions, including international competitions, and in autumn 2013 we delivered the Cup of the World competition, where the representatives of all 6 continents, including Australia, participated, and the final round took place in Moscow. We not only construct sites, but we provide follow-up work and invite sportsmen. We have very powerful internet resources, so this is a tool of raising awareness. That's why we can invite lots of people, and the house is always full. There are many visitors and spectators at these events. 85% of our business is represented by state procurement. That's why we need lots of time for that. We need to plan our work with young people in advance. And we always need time to choose a developer, we need time for a bidding procedure, we need to choose a designer, and so on. I think the environment where we live is rather passive, and this is a problem in our work. Recently, we have actively tried to involve businesses in our sector. We try to create incentives for big companies and to encourage them and involve them in this type of social work. We request them to participate in our work of constructing these workout sports facilities. Normally, this is the coordination. We coordinate it very fast with the administration. So we construct a sports site, and later on we grant it for free to the city. We have done that in the Urals and in other places. Right now, there's some kind of workout sports boom among young people, and sometimes it is in particular advertised by the VIPs, the popular singers, and other popular figures that we invite to advertise sites. And let me demonstrate a video that I have created. This is one of our ways to find investors. Since the audience is diverse, and this year our Cup of the World competition took place in the countries of all 6 continents. Certainly it was.
You are going to discover how your company can benefit from joining a street workout movement. In the early 1900s, street basketball was just a leisure sport of a few poor New York communities that couldn't afford proper sports facilities. By 1920, street ball had gained international prominence, and by the end of the century had grown to a multi-billion-dollar industry. After World War I, French naval officer Georges Herbert introduced a controversial new type of training which later became known as parkour. Today, parkour has evolved to become an international sports sensation. The question marketers around the world are asking, what is the next big thing? Right now, in Spain, in the Ukraine, in the United States, in Russia, and many other countries around the world, street workout is a sport everyone's talking about. accessible, fun, and extreme. It brings the joy of workouts out of the gym and into the streets. Street workout is the fastest growing new sport in the world. It attracts more new spectators than any other new sport. And it's generating publicity and excitement around the globe. Your company can get ahead in this exciting race of sports marketing. Become a part of street workout movement now.
Сейчас последний еще скажу, там полминуты и все. Еще почему очень социально?
This is a social event because these guys do not need expensive fitness cards and fitness clubs. They can just go out into their yard and train together with their fellows. It's really an event of social significance, and this type of sport develops most fast. It's one of the most popular types of sport globally, and they use very simple facilities that are well known to us and are available in any yard. Thank you. This is a good example. In fact, the standards and the businesses that used to be fashionable are now, for some reason, becoming inaccessible for many. For instance, and we can see that these are the activities that aim to improve health and to create healthy competition among people. They may also encourage people to take up sport. This is a good example which shows that sometimes we can do something impossible, and sometimes a person can achieve the most unachievable things if he wants to develop, and here business can help people. I have already introduced Roman Bobylev, the founder of Lozaholding. Now let me invite Alyona Boytsova, his colleague, to tell you, could you please introduce your organization? I represent Lozaholding. We have been in the market for 7 years. We manufacture products from the branches of trees. These are ecologically clean products. It's a type of willow weaving. Certainly, we have many competitors because there are many products manufactured by China and other countries offered in our region. But we should try to pursue an individual approach and to respond to the individual needs of our clients. The client informs us of the desired size, materials of a product, and so on. And we gradually grow. How old is your company? We're 7 years old. We expected profit we planned some profits. However, the real profit exceeded the planned profit by 20% even in the first year. So we're trying to withstand the competition. Could you tell us about why is your enterprise has some social significance? All our personnel are physically challenged people. They have some peculiarities and which impedes their work. Our workplaces are specially equipped so that their physical challenges are considered, and we're trying to maximize their comfort in the process of work. Certainly, we support them if something goes wrong, and we always help them by all possible means. Naturally, from year to year, we're trying to develop, and right now we have acquired the machines for embroidery works. And the machine operators are also people with physical challenges. Our KPIs are growing from year to year. We have as non-core direction of activity. We participate in the Center of Entrepreneurship in Lipetsk area. We provide consulting services and to businesses that employ physically challenged people. We train them. This is an NCO, and so we train businessmen, we provide consultations to them. We aim we help them to involve additional funding. Certainly there are grants and subsidies, but we're not so, we can never be sure about grants and subsidies, so we train them and we help them to find other ways, like loans, like participating in alternative funding programs. I also have prepared a presentation. If possible, if you are willing, let's view it, only if it is short. Let's have a look at the presentation. What is the actual concept of social entrepreneurship? But we have already discussed it. How is it defined? Next slide. What do? We develop the main principles of support to social entrepreneurs. In particular, we prepare business projects and business plans. These are the main forms of support. Next slide. What were our first projects? As the NCO, the first event was the roundtable discussion that we organized. It was done for the people with disabilities, and we tried to, this was our first experience. We briefed them on their opportunities in employment and the ways of self-employment. We opened a website for craftsmen in Lipetsk region, and we initiated to create this site. It unites the craftsmen in Lipetsk region. Any craftsman, any artist can exhibit his works at this website and later on sell it through internet.
So this is the company Lozaholding. Main facts about us. This is how we started. You can see halls where they work, everything is done manually. How many people do you employ? And how many people is there in your partnership? In total, now we have 50 non-commercial partnership within our alliance, and Lozaholding employs 6 people. We are very efficient, have high sales. As of the 9th of April this year, we plan to organize the next roundtable. We are going to invite representatives of social entrepreneurship and the state, the authorities of the Lipetsk region will inform the community about this in due time. Thank you very much for doing good. You are actually helping a lot of people who can't find a job in traditional businesses. You are not only giving them jobs, you help them to be independent, to achieve self-satisfaction. Now I give the floor to Ms. Vyacheslav Shatenko, and after that we'll talk to the experts. Vyacheslav, what were the best cases in your activity, what you've created together with your students? You are a mentor or initiator. Could you please share the best examples in social entrepreneurship? Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the platform. This is a good example of promoting social entrepreneurship and NGOs. In Russia, we have 2 problems. Not fools and roses, as the saying goes, but 2 problems are, first of all, propaganda of such activity. As Nikita Belykh, governor of the Kirovsk region, said at the Krasnoyarsk Economic Forum, so he said, in the federal news, you hear a little bit. You're not hearing about such interesting social projects, but if you hear about this on TV, a lot of people will start doing it. So first problem is encouraging and popularization of this activity. Second problem, people, competences, skills. People should know and be capable of doing such problems. Second problem is should be tackled by us, by universities. My academy has a special mission here. We have 68 branches throughout Russia. We have 40,000 students, 140,000 students around the country, and this is a great resource. We can use the energy of the youth to channel it correctly, teach them such projects, and during their time at the university, they should be able to implement social projects. We try to create the platform to achieve all this. The main idea is the following. We identify the most active students who are interested to do something outside their academic activities. And during the academic year, they live through the entrepreneurship cycle. They themselves identify a problem in their communities, for example, the community of disabled people or something like that. And they are organizing some social projects using entrepreneurship approach. So they invent the idea and they implement this idea. In the end of the academic year, they show what they've achieved. They demonstrate the improvement of the living standards of the social group. they need to demonstrate specific results. Now we are finishing the second cycle of this program. We were inspired by such programs as SAGE, for example. This program includes a lot of elements of the SAGE program. When the most active students go through this process, there are two outcomes. First of all, they become socially responsible. They will continue working as social businessmen. Maybe they will start working in NGOs. Some people will go on to work for big companies, but they will also be promoting social entrepreneurship, being managers at large companies. A lot of options, but we need to educate the youth starting from very early stages. Examples of projects. Last year we had in total about 50 projects, 7 teams, 27 in 27 cities. There were student activists, students who were implementing different social responsible projects. So they were helping existing businesses, improving their efficiency, maximizing income. They were also helping some groups to become more financially literate, and so on. Specific projects. Environmental project in Novosibirsk. They were dealing with the problem of waste disposals. They were trying to explain the pupils on how to sort different types of waste using different cans. They were sorting out big waste deposits, and schoolers were able to get some benefits when they sort out this certain amount of garbage. And in the end, it was possible to recycle some of the types of materials. So in Novosibirsk, you have some recycling facilities. We do have it. Elena, I want to learn about your opinion on this. Elena Torgova comes from Baikhalsk region, Irkutsk region. This topic is extremely important. I represent the School of Environmental Entrepreneurship. In Irkutsk region, we have Baikal Lake, and there are a lot of restrictions for industrial activity around the lake, but Baikalsk city has some industries, and there are very specific people living there. They know that they are hired by companies. They're not going to live there forever. My program helps people to start normal businesses such as family-owned businesses or entrepreneurship. And we also teach them that the business should be environmentally responsible. We are engaging people from Baikalsk, and for this we also organize cooperation with activists from other regions. Do you have now people who are recycling waste? Are they producing some new products made of recycled materials? Yes, we have such businessmen, but unfortunately we don't have the support system for such entrepreneurs. The dedicated system as it exists in the majority of developed countries. Okay, I'd like to listen to the opinion from our experts in this environmental context. I'd like to say a couple of words on this problem on infrastructure. We have infrastructure, but people are not aware of recycling. And now we help a lot of people, scholars, to understand that this problem exists, and in the future they are going to recycle their waste. And now we have new companies emerging who are responsible for recycling. Natalia, Evgenia, could you please comment on this? I have two comments to make. I work a lot with clusters, and we clearly see in Russia, in Brazil, in Italy. We have some projects in Italy too. So, similar trends. And I'm not talking about people from humanitarian sphere, but about people who have technical background. This is a very big group of people who know a lot about science and technologies, who could help us solve problems of big cities, having a lot of knowledge. But unfortunately, they don't get education related to entrepreneurship and own business. And I'm not talking about social entrepreneurship, just entrepreneurship. They know something about economy, but economy and having your own business, they are two different things. That's why I think we should have new courses at university for those who study technology related to entrepreneurship. A lot of issues are the results of the fact that we live in the new, highly technological world, and we don't know how to cope with a lot of problems. So, for example, batteries. Not everyone knows that batteries could be recycled. A lot of issues like that. And I'm not talking about financial literacy. We also need to be technically literate. That's a very important issue. Second comment. Social entrepreneurship should be also taught at universities. So you want to say that entrepreneurship can be taught. I think we should talk about it. People should have possibility to try. Maybe this works for them. You need to have the tools. If this instrument we teach you is good and works for you, you will use it in the future. We have a lot of people from different backgrounds. People with technical backgrounds should be able to cooperate with designers and so on. What's the solution? We need to have mixed teams. I like your example of your project, but we need more technical specialists there. Because those who are responsible for this project now, they don't know how this works from the technical point of view. In Samara, we tried to implement this approach in Samara and also in Brazil. Results were surprising. One of the designers said, actually, there is a lot to be done, which requires specialists in electricity, space industry, engineering, and specialists responsible for those projects know nothing about it. My last comment. And it applies to Russia and all other countries in the world. New generations, generations Y and Z, who are now 10, 11 years old, they are interested in social entrepreneurship. And we don't need to make huge efforts to persuade them because they are already interested. They have a lot of information. They understand that this is important. And now we simply need to train them. And we need international exchange for this. I'd like to see more international changes where people from different countries cooperate. We're waiting for your proposal then. So this Congress is probably a good forum for discussing this. Europe has now 2020 mobility program. People from different backgrounds should work together, and we also need to think about it. Social entrepreneurship should be also one part of such joint cooperations. Social entrepreneurship is a unique sphere because we have such a term as copyright. Social entrepreneurs are ready to share their secrets, their errors, their wins, and they always rejoice when there are not competitors next to them, but friends who help them solve problems. We have good examples. For example, Gas Informativ from Brazil. So this project, supported by the government, helps you to become a become a chef for the restaurant. Center for Digital Inclusion is another example. This center allows you to use technology, computers, for those people who don't know what it is, those who are people from previous generations. Another brief comments on who we should support and how. We are constantly seeing progress. 3 years ago, there was a project called Kiva.org, crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, usually it's $1 to $1. It's not a lot of funds, but this project in Albania, through Kiva.org, in less than 24 hours, managed to raise huge sums, several thousands of euro. Everyone was very inspired and they wanted to continue. In January, they were raising money for the second project. In 2 days, they managed to raise $50,000. This was money for the cafe, for meeting of disabled persons. Then there was a new idea. We want to improve this world and we are ready to support social entrepreneurs, but not everyone is capable of becoming an investor due to many reasons. But if we all use crowdfunding, if we all invest little by little, we'll achieve a lot. And this will help us to create new projects every day. The world is constantly developing. Second comment, social entrepreneurship allows to develop for those people who are usually excluded from normal businesses. We're going to see more and more pensioners on the world because the population is aging. Pensioners live longer and live better. Social entrepreneurship is a great tool for self-employment for those who are over 50 or 60 years old. Not everyone is ready to start his own business, but it's a good opportunity to become a mentor, to join some community, to become an active citizen. Another project in Malaysia, training of social entrepreneurship program. 2 audiences invites mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, and there are different courses slightly adjusted to take into account the ages. And then different members of the family meet at the dinner table and they exchange their experience, and this generates a lot of energy in a lot of new initiatives. You can become a social entrepreneurship if you have will, if you are interested, if you are ready to risk. You can volunteer. If you are a professional lawyer or financial specialist, you can help such businesses. Sometimes company send the specialists to long-term business trips. There are such projects as creating social agencies, so bankers could help in new projects. You can become a social investor, you can help projects through crowdfunding, you can support these wonderful deeds. Thank you very much. Your statement was very interesting, very useful. My name is Yulia Molchanova. I'm head of the business incubator from the High School of Economics. I'm here because I have a question. We support social entrepreneurs and businessmen. But when social entrepreneurship stops being entrepreneurship, I see that they lack expertise, they lack skills. In my opinion, this is a big problem for Russia. People I talk to, they don't have transparent assessment mechanisms. If you are interested in this project, please raise your hands and we'll discuss it. Yulia, do you have proposals? You're ready to meet, but do you have some specific proposals? I propose creating the transparent platform where we could share our experiences. We have such a service in Moscow. Nikolai Nikolaev from Opora России and Mr. Yakovlev from Small Business. I actually know him already. We've been discussing this problem a lot. On Friday, we'll have the joint meeting with the Committee of Social Entrepreneurship, Opora России, and the Center of Innovation of Moscow. We will be assessing the social effect of this type of projects. Large companies have a lot of questions when they start supporting projects. There are questions raised by the state authorities. I invite you to attend our meeting and all together we'll find solutions, I'm sure. Igor Yakovlev, Small Business Association. Could you please share your experience of your association? First of all, I'd like to thank all the participants and partners who are active in this very good sphere. As for Moscow, we are working in the following way. We have an expert group active in Moscow, which, using the opinion of experts from the Department of Social and Economic Development, identifies actual social problems, the capacity and the number of initiatives required to tackle these social problems. Social sphere is a living organism, and there are changes taking place all the time. We have to monitor the situation. We are socially oriented, and we are trying to solve specific social problems of Moscow.
And when we will develop the program of support, we will use the expert opinions of some outcomes of Moscow Social and Economic Development Program. Moscow is a difficult city. It's quite complicated, and it's after many comprehensive social and economic objectives. For this purpose in particular, we need to develop the concept of social entrepreneurship. And right now, Moscow is developing its own tools, and they may be implemented in partnership with some other programs in order to replicate the businesses with social effects. One of the Certainly, if there are some enthusiasts that launch socially significant projects, it's okay. But we need specially devised tools. And I think we should first identify the best practices, then find different tools of support, involve partners, and like banks, and use their lending and other tools. And finally, and most importantly, identify the businessmen that are ready to work not only for profit, but also for the sake of social goals. We are now working on some pilot projects, and some of them cover school education, for instance. The second target audience is disabled people, and we have many good examples. Do you have any specific dates for proposals or competitions for Muscovites? In the near future, I think it will be there will be a meeting in Moscow, or a forum. It will be organized by the Employment Service in Moscow. Thank you. I think we have questions from the floor, and we will be happy to answer them. So, if you can shift the microphone. So let us start with the end of the room. I'm Viktor Glushkov. I have a small comment. 7 years ago, only few people knew about the subject. However, now it is discussed widely at the federal level and is actively supported by many organizations. I'm glad to hear that now companies are involved in this work, and there are many social entrepreneurship projects. I hope that the borders between social entrepreneurs and state projects should diminish. They should merge. What is the best way to do it? And how can we do it fast? That is the question. And who is ready to answer this question? Dear speakers, Artyom probably. Microphone, please. Please use the microphone. We will eliminate all borders. Well, I think meetings like that is the first step to take away the borders between the business and the government. The second way is the proper professional infrastructure which will allow different organizations and structures to meet. So this should be a common platform for those that want to disseminate the best practices and other methods of work. And this is the way to move fast. Thank you. And let me be specific. I would like to invite you all to the final round of the social practices competition. It will take place in June on the 17th. And this is the initiative of young people. It has been supported by businesses, and it will generate and breed new social enterprises. Microphone, please. Please, microphone. Let me invite you to another event that will take place in August 2014. I'm a coordinator of school children entrepreneurship projects. The children of 12 and 14 participating from 12 to 14. And I would like to invite you to the global championship that will take place in Moscow. You can visit as observers or members of the jury. And this is the best way of interaction, I think. I agree with one of the speakers that this new Z generation have many ideas. You don't need to call on them to do something. They have lots of their own inventions. Microphone, please. Please use the microphone. Microphone, please. Please use the microphone. Please, microphone. Microphone, please. Please use the microphone. We need to create something like accessible environment. So I think you have passed your projects to the reliable hands. Let me get back to the start of our conversation. What is the social entrepreneurship? Among other things, this should be the form of business which is interesting for the residents of a particular region. And besides, it's a great tool to develop depressed regions. I agree. This is the merit, and this is the merit, and this is the proper measurement system for this social impact. And now we need to answer the question, are the people able to do it or not? When the people are under pressure, when they are hungry, it turns out that anyone is able to organize some kind of self-employment for himself, for his family, and for his surrounding. And the next step will cover a wider area. But we need to reach this stage. We need to survive till this stage. This is the target of all authorities, the government, municipalities, many business incubators, secondary schools, business schools, the experts, and the people that now are working on the similar projects, like the one that has just been introduced. Thank you for your attention and for your involvement in this subject. I hope that you will make new discoveries This is really a very wide and unlimited world. So I hope you will have new discoveries and hope to see you in future at a similar congress or another smaller event, but we will communicate equally well. Thank you and good luck to you.
Спасибо большое всем. Thank you.